All right, Jackie, thank you so much. Pleased to be joined now by Duncan Stroik, a professor of architecture here at the University of Notre Dame, an author, a practicing architect, and professor is one of the country's best known designers of churches. He is also the recipient of countless awards for his work. And Professor, thank you so much. Your work is absolutely beautiful. Tell us about some of it.
So I'm honored to be able to work in classical architecture, mainly for the church, designing church buildings, which I love. And it's great to do things that are very elegant and have high budgets, like college chapels as well, and cathedrals, as well as things that are more for parish churches that are more affordable.
And I want to speak specifically to some of the work you've done. You've designed some truly beautiful churches and chapels all around the country, really, including St. Paul the Apostle Catholic Church, that's in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and also the Thomas Aquinas College Chapel in California. How do you start a process of designing a church? And this is one of them as well.
Yeah, and I like this example too, because St. Paul is a affordable parish church in a beautiful little town in South Carolina. And I believe in beauty on a budget, that we can do that today, and we need to do it today. So what do I do? First thing I do is I listen. I try to listen to the client, what they need, what they want, what they think they would like. Then I look at the site, at the town, at the campus. I also study the history of whatever that building type is going to be, a monastery, a church, a college chapel. And then I sketch. And I do multiple sketches by hand, and I come up with lots and lots of ideas, and then we try to focus in on what might be the best for the client.
And how is this different, sacred architecture, different than other forms, let's say maybe constructing a building, a business building?
Right. So there's a lot in common with an office building or with a museum or a library or school, but historically, church architecture has been the highest level. We've seen sacred architecture as being the epitome of what classical architecture should be, because it's civic, it's for all people, and ultimately it's for the higher things, it's for God, and so it should be an expression of excellence.
And of course, you have the outside of the building. How difficult is it to decide what the inside of a building is going to look like?
Good point. Yeah, the outside and inside are both crucial. Most people will see the outside, but we want people to come in. We want to bring you in. We want to welcome you and inspire you. And then inside is really the sense of transcendence, place of worship, place of prayer, to make you feel comfortable, but also, and that it's your house, it's people's house, but it's also God's house. And how to do that, a lot of it is through architecture and architectural elements, but also through artwork.
And it's one thing to be able to do it yourself, create it yourself, another thing to teach it.
Yes.
How is that process?
Oh, I love teaching.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to teach at Notre Dame. My students help me out so much. They inspire me, they challenge me. And I'd like to think that my architecture work as well as my teaching are very much symbiotic. They grow out of each other. And I like to bring my experience, my practice to educating the future generation of classical architects as well as church architects.
And I imagine there's a long period of time that goes into constructing a building, a church,
yes.
And then of course teaching. How do you balance the two?
Yeah, it's a hard balance, but I think I couldn't be a teacher without being an architect. I couldn't teach well without practicing. And of course, I balance it the way my colleagues in other fields balance their teaching with their great research.
I'd like to talk to you just about, creating an altar and an ambos. How does that process unfold? How do you decide that?
Okay, so that's really fun. The elements of the church are the things that we focus on often, but they're small. The churches are big, and these elements, like an altar, are quite small. So how do you make the altar stand out?
This is beautiful. Can you speak specifically to this one?
So this ambo is at a cathedral in Sioux Falls.
Wow.
And it's all marble, it's round, has a sounding board with the Holy Spirit, and on the front it has a sculpture by Cody Swanson of Christ speaking to the youth, speaking to the people. And we spend a lot of time designing these works. This is a new work of candlesticks and tabernacle and crucifix that we did for a monastery. And these are the things that really matter to me. We love using good materials, marble, plaster, bronze. This is for St. Paul's, and we have a nice little Irish cross up there in the capitol, and a little sword in honor of St. Paul the Apostle.
It's absolutely beautiful. And so you're an architect, you're a professor, you're also an author. And you brought a book here with us today.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the church building as a sacred place is kind of my proposal for a new renaissance of sacred architecture that we've been promoting at Notre Dame and around the world, and I think people are really hungry for churches that look like churches and churches that remind people that it's not just another building, but it's a house of God.
And how important is that in your lecture when you're teaching somebody to be able to do the work that you do? How does that unfold in the classroom? How do you translate that, your passion, to an up-and-coming student?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I try to ask my students to do what I do. I don't ask them to do different things. I don't ask them to do more. I try to push them to do things that I've tried. And that's what I can give them. I can only give them what I know and how I do it, and I try to push them the way that my clients push me.
It's fascinating. This has been a great interview. Professor, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Your
Brian.
work is beautiful. I really appreciate it.
Honor to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Duncan. All right, well, after this quick break, we'll have much more here from the campus of the University of Notre Dame. You're watching Notre Dame Day Live.